What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the model breakdown. This week we have the Baycurrent Classic, which is a new event in Japan. Should be a fun week. Now, there's only 78 golfers in the field this week, so not going to have a cut. That does kind of change the strategy for DFS a little bit. You're going to have everyone that gets 6 lineups through the cut, so that's naturally going to make birdie or better percentage more important. Guys are going to be out scoring their finishing position. You also got to make sure to have some win equity in your lineups because you're going to have the winner if you want any chance of competing for some of these tournaments. And then I do think, we're going to see some concentrated chalk. There's just fewer golfers to choose from. And with this being a new course, new event, I think it's a pretty good spot to kind of fade the cheaper value plays because I do think there's plenty of paths to failure. So let's get into it. The course in play this week, the Yokohama Country Club in Japan. It's a par 71 that measures just over 7,300 yards. Now, the cool thing about this course is it only has 2 par 5s and 3 par 3s. So typically a course, par 72 has got 4 par 5s, 4 par 3s. Par 71s usually have 3 par 5s, 4 par 3s. So that's 11 par 4s on the course. This week, there's 13 par 4s on the course. So I do think par 4 scoring is going to be very important. I included it in the model this week. So if you want to take a look at that, you certainly can. I think that's going to be important. And then I think just ball striking kind of translates well everywhere. Tee to green play. The greens here are bent grass. If you do want to look at bent grass splits, I'm not really looking too much at putting splits just because it's in a different part of the world. So not going to get too cute with that. And again, I just don't know how strong the course fit's going to be. So if you hear somebody say, bombers are going to have a big edge or ball strikers going to have big edge, I just don't think we know. So kind of go with your gut on this one. Focus on recent form, focus on long-term form, whatever your favorite metric is. But again, I do think par 4 scoring is going to be the most important for me. So I have strokes gained off the tee at 10% this week, par 4 scoring 8%, approach play at 13%. Then pretty small weights, tee to green, around the green, putting, birdie or better, bogey avoidance. Again, I do think this is a good week to bump up birdie or better percentage. You're going to want those guys that can outscore their finishing position. You have your cuts made in recent finishes. Again, this is going to be important just to see which golfers are playing well recently. You don't really want a golfer that hasn't played in a long time or that hasn't shown any recent form. At least I don't want those golfers in my lineups. Then you have your form and field strength, which is always a big metric in the model. So let's get right into it. At the very top, we have Xander Schauffele. So $11,000. Obviously, hasn't had the best 2025 year compared to what he had in 2024, where he won 2 majors. But the last time we saw him, he was coming off of a big win against Jon Rahm in singles. Kind of, took it to him too after Jon Rahm was probably the most valuable player for Europe, him and Rory McIlroy the first couple days. So definitely a guy that I don't mind looking to. We do see kind of that Ryder Cup boost too. We saw Robert McIntyre win last week in Europe. We saw Tyrrell Hatton finish second in that same event. And Xander's one of the only guys in the field that played in the Ryder Cup. He's definitely the only American other than Morikawa. So I do like Xander quite a bit. He won a gold medal in Japan. He also won the WGC event in China in 2018. So he's got plenty of ties to the area, knows the area well. Again, coming in pretty good form at the Ryder Cup. So he's my favorite. He's probably going to be the most popular above 10K. And the other options there, you have Collin Morikawa, who has one top 10 finish since the Players. He didn't do very well at the Ryder Cup. Him and English got smoked each of the first 2 days. Then you have Hideki at 10-4, who's won in Japan, from Japan. So he obviously has a lot of ties there. Going to feel very comfortable on this course. He's been playing pretty well. Just a lot of top 30 finishes. If I'm ranking the 10K guys, I would go Xander, Hideki, and then Morikawa, kind of a distant third. Although he did win the Zozo a couple years ago. Kitayama's number 2 in the model. He's only 9,400. That's kind of why he is projecting for such high ownership. Picked up a win a couple months ago. He's played well since. He's one of the better ball strikers in the field, one of the better par 4 scorers in the field. Number 1 tee to green. So a guy that I like in all formats. But again, you're going to have to be careful with the way you build, especially if you start with like Xander and Kitayama. I think that's going to be a very popular starting point. So for large field stuff, I would maybe mix those two up, kind of separate them. Or if you're not going to do that, then make sure to differentiate with your value plays. Moving down, we have Alex Noren, who's won twice in his last 3 starts. He's been playing great. He also has 7th and a 3rd recently. Plenty of experience playing all over the world, so I do think he's interesting. Kevin Yu is going to project well for me, but he's one of the PGA Tour regulars that I just don't have a strong take on this week. Siwoo Kim's got a high floor. Typically like him more in cuts that feature an event because he does have such a high cut rate, but very good with the wedges, hits a lot of fairways, and that could be important this week because the rough is zoysia grass, and that does create some tricky lies, but it does have very good lies in the fairway. So a guy like Siwoo Kim that hits a ton of fairways could be at a major advantage this week. Going to be off with Thor Bjornsson. I love the talent. I just want to play him more in the setting where he's probably going to be more comfortable. So not going to be on Thor Bjornsson. I don't think you need to bomb it this week to have a ton of success. I don't love Chris Gotterup, but he is number 2 in this field in par 4 scoring. So if you want to make a case for him, the problem, I just don't like the high ownership projection that we have on him right now. Number 10, Rico Hoey, one of my favorite plays on the board, coming off of a bad miscut last week, but it was really only a bad Friday. I mean, he got off to a bad start on Thursday, really turned it around to get under par, and then just struggled on Friday. But again, elite ball striker that recently made the move to the long putter. I do think that's going to help him long term. If he can become an average putter, I think he's going to be top 10 machine on the PGA Tour. Patrick Fishburne, talked about him last week, ended up making the cut. He's a guy that played great last fall, and then he struggled in the spring and summer. Now he's starting to play well again. He's gained off the tee in 10 of 13. He's gained on approach in 8 of 11. He's gained around the green in 5 of 6. So his game is really trending in the right direction. Love Kevin Roy at 6,800, 12th in the model, and he is the 48th most expensive on DraftKings, the 49th most expensive on FanDuel. He gains in all areas. He's number 1 in par 4 scoring. He's coming off of back-to-back top 20 finishes. Just a guy that feels way too underpriced. So if he gets some steam, I wouldn't be surprised. We have him at 9% right now. That does feel a little bit low. Rasmus Højgaard's been playing great. He's much more expensive than his brother, Nikolai, who is 7,700, but Rasmus is in better form. Second, 13th, second, and third in his last 5 events is really good. A guy I don't mind looking at in tournaments. Keith Mitchell just hasn't been good for a while. I know the stats are going to look good. The birdie or better percentage is going to look good. Maybe you can make a case that since there is no cut, you don't have to worry about him missing the cut. But, man, I just don't feel good about him right now. Whaley coming off of the big finish last week, but he actually lost strokes ball striking, which worries me. I do like McCarty, guy that can gain in all 4 strokes gain categories. I like Mark Hubbard. He's made 9 of his last 10 cuts. Seabez is a guy that I think could make some sense here. Very good with the wedges, very good putter. Coming off of a 6th place finish at the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship. William Mao ended up withdrawn before last week's event, but prior to that, he had a win, a 2nd, and a 7th. So a lot of things to like about William Mao, talented young player. Again, Nikolai is much cheaper than his brother if you want to go that route. Trying to see if there's anybody else. Schmid's got a pretty high birdie or better rate. And yeah, I mean, there's just not a lot that I love this week. Eric Cole makes a lot of birdies. Don't mind looking at that. Taiga Semikawa is probably my favorite golfer that is mostly just on the European tour and Japanese tour. So I don't mind looking at that. I will note that Satoshi Kodaira recently picked up a win on the Japan tour, and he is at the very min 6K if you want to look at large field stuff. But as always, want to thank you for joining me. This is the type of year where not a lot of people pay attention to golf. So if you are grinding it out, there are some edges to be had. So good luck this week, and we'll catch you back here for the next PGA Tour event.